We from Be Honest were there, supported by our Group Solomonovo, named after the place in western Ukraine where a car factory now serves as a refugee camp. We would like to thank you all very much. It quickly became clear to us that we didn't just want to donate or get supplies. No, we wanted to be there to feel the situation. 1,274 kilometers from Hamburg to the vicinity of Ushgorod didn't go that smoothly. In consultation with Elena Shapitsko, we started on Sunday with medicines, canned food, school supplies, toys and sweets. Going to the people of a nation at war was a completely new situation in both of our lives. It was important for us to have this experience from our hearts.
Our route started in the northwest of Hamburg, led through Poland and Slovakia. Finally, from there to the Ukrainian Transcarpathia. After about 900 kilometers, we looked for a place to stay for the night in Krakow. We were lucky and met people who were with us, friendly, helpful, cautious. Our car, and with it the entire aid delivery, was safely parked in a private car park. Thank you to the Margarita Hotel in Krakow. Although we were not 400 kilometers away from the refugee camp, on the morning of the next day it took a long time. Speed limits, winding country roads through Poland and extremely slow traffic through Slovakia. We passed World War II tanks. Parts of southeastern Slovakia seemed to have fallen out of time, like living in the middle of nowhere. Small earthen houses, telephone poles and overhead power lines.
I, personally, Beatrice, felt this area with its muted, reduced colors as a fairy tale landscape like in Grimm's stories. So spacious, so pure, so back to the roots. The only colorful highlights were the signs on the crosswalks and the bus shelters in blue and yellow. After many hours, we finally reached the border between Slovakia and Ukraine.
Ich frag die mal.
Since we had an aid delivery in the trunk and on the back seat, we had to queue through truck customs. Photos or videos at this point were not allowed. Tricky situation because we had so much paperwork to fill out.
Wir übersetzen gerade.
Ja, vom Slowakischen ins Deutsche, was man so macht am Grenzübergang zur Ukraine.
And that in Slovak, only the Google Translator or worst case Victor could help us, who then communicated with the customs officials via loudspeakers on his cell phone.
After more than 2.5 hours, we finally had all the stamps and were allowed to cross the barrier to the Ukraine. This was a very uneasy feeling for both of us, now in a country at war, albeit a largely Western one. There were bold calls to join the Ukrainian army. Something like that is no longer known here in the West. Frightening, but quite plausible. After 9 hours, we finally reached Solomonovo, a huge complex of factory buildings and warehouses. A stillness lay over the complex. Little was noticeable at first, apart from the well-known Audi, VW and Skoda logos, which we are all familiar with refugee tents already erected in the background as a precaution for the next waves of bombed out and displaced people.
Now we had arrived, a noticeable cordiality welcomed us. Intuitively, each of the refugees would have liked to hug us at this moment, but we didn't know each other yet. It was clear how grateful everyone was about our visit. This touched our hearts deeply. Our empathy for this situation was immediately accepted. Accordingly, we were trusted. A good feeling of warmth after a long drive.
Ukrainian.
Добрий вечір, Вітні.
Добрий вечір.
How are you doing?
Ми раді вітати Біатріс та Хеннінга в Україні. Раді, що вони добралися до нас. І дуже благодарні за всю поміч, яку вони нам предоставляють.
Ждемо
Дякую.
тебе, коли ми виграємо цю війну. До скоро.
Okay.
Victor Andrashko, a senior management executive at Eurocar, greeted us warmly and took our aid with thanks. He's one of those who coordinates and organizes so that all aid supplies are exactly allocated to other Ukrainian refugee camps. His idea now is to get care packages for the soldiers at the front. What human solidarity!
We were also greeted by the sons of the owner of the Eurocar car factory, Viktor and Igor Boyarin. When the war started, they had been on holiday in the Seychelles and left immediately to help their compatriots and give them accommodation in their factory. What an aid project for their beloved country.
Valeria Gariva also gave us a warm welcome. The concert and event manager had to leave Kiev very quickly with her daughter, dog and cat, with almost nothing, and yet with the gratitude to be safe with her beloved ones. They too developed unimagined energies from the suffering and fear. Valeria took care of all the refugee children in Solomonovo and founded a makeshift school. With creativity, she made it possible for all the children to receive emotional support through webinars in addition to lessons. What human empathy!
After that, we visited the many children to personally hand over school materials, small toys and sweets that we had brought with us. It was very touching to look into the little children's eyes and elicit a smile from them, whether it was when they were handed over a surprise egg or a can of soap bubbles. There were 30 children in the camp when we visited, from age 2 to 15 years. Children who have never met before. Valeria told Beatrice how sad it was at first. Each child alone with all the pain and suffering in their hearts. Homesick for family, for home, for friends. With the last of her strength, Valeria, as she said, then sat down at the table and began to lay cards. It was the only pack of playing cards in storage. Miraculously, more and more children became curious about what was happening and gathered around the table. That was the beginning of this feeling of togetherness that has since developed. The children, regardless of their age, have understood that they all share the same fate. The cohesion and community in such an emergency is the highest good in everyone's life. We were emotionally touched that this small community created its own name. They call themselves Children of Factory. What an adorable gesture by the children, and what a role model for adults to get up and move on. We were allowed to film the camps, but we kept a low profile because we didn't want to offend children and their mothers. Viktor Boyarin shared with us how amazing it is that people in need who have never met are standing together in this difficult situation, trying, despite suffering and pain, each in their own way, move and help. That's what we call love for one's own country. Chapeau.
Two small works of art have reached us, among others. The picture of Xoga, 9 years old, expressing homesickness and loss. The picture of Mipo, 6 years old, in which fear and terror arise visually.
We were granted insights into the washrooms and kitchen. We have also been told several times that we have a 5-star camp here compared to the other camps in Ukraine. Eurocar has done a lot here and will make so much more possible in the future, which is admirable. A kitchen improvised. See for yourself. And so sweet, we both loved it. The camp had prepared a dinner for us. What hospitality. There was borщ, the Ukrainian national soup, and bread. People who find together an interior designer who will force her creativity into cooking. When we ate together, we felt part of the community. The conversations were so emotional, honest, and open, we listened. Victor informed us that all the refugees accommodated here are the relatives of Eurocar workers, associated dealers or suppliers. Also, that there is a dedicated factory-related doctor on site. Camps and tents for more refugees are prepared and already organized.
Valeria spoke to me like my best friend, and within minutes of getting to know each other, open and honest about experiences and emotions, and I just listened. Very special was the moment when Valeria finally cried, and I just hugged her. I will never forget this moment. And then this great team created a place to stay for us, an experience To have an air raid alarm with loud sirens in the middle of the night in your own ears. A very frightening moment for us.
We sincerely thank the whole team in Solomonovo. We are both glad to have felt and experienced it. We are overwhelmed by what these people have already achieved here in the camp, as well as by what is affecting them personally at the moment and what they now want to do with all their strength for their beloved homeland, the Ukraine, in future. We are with you emotionally. Keep us posted, please.
We are definitely here for you.
We are simply overwhelmed by what people with very different talents have created here. Stand up for their country, with a lot of pain in their hearts, nevertheless create new structures, and they find so much energy for a future without a plan.
Remarkable. The most unforgettable sentence when we said goodbye was, even more than about your delivery, we were happy about your personal visit.